some of the uncontrollable urges that keep gambling, despite the toll that it has on one's life. With the second research now done, it is to provide insight on social welfare and development issues that are related to gambling. So to discuss this further in studio, I am being joined by the responsible gambling manager from the Gambling Authority of Botswana, Ms. Portia Diteko. Let me welcome you. Thank you for your time, for coming through this morning.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me.
Right. Let's start with shedding light here on just what is the landscape, the gambling landscape in Botswana. What are gambling activities that are existent or prevalent in Botswana?
All right. So maybe for the listener who's not aware, Gambling Authority is a parastatal that has been given a directive by the government to regulate gambling activities in Botswana.
Right.
So this includes licensing of gambling establishments. If a Botswana wants to own a gambling establishment, they apply, or they wait for us to call for applications, and then they apply, and then we inspect and we give out licenses. And then we also ensure compliance, meaning that Botswana the gambling site, but they say no, gambling is for cheating us. But Gambling Authority is there to make sure that there's a fair chance of winning. And then we also have the responsible gambling leg, which ensures that while Botswana enjoy gambling, while Botswana enjoy the gambling industry, you mentioned socio-economic research that we did. So while Botswana enjoy those socio-economic benefits, they don't develop an addiction or a problem with gambling. So to answer your question, what is the landscape of gambling in Botswana? At the moment, we regulate casinos. We regulate 7 casinos, and we are in the process of licensing to other license types. This includes betting, bingo, limited payout machines, and I don't know if you follow the news clearly or closely. We are also in the process of issuing out the lottery. And we also regulate small lotteries. These are the ones where you go to a shop and they say, put your receipt in here and stand a chance to win a car. So we regulate them as well.
What is the name for the type?
Khobola, I remember it from when I was young. I would think I get know and then so I would think it would come in under small lotteries, promotional lotteries. And then we've also recently just reintroduced SMS quizzes and SMS competitions where you get an SMS prompt which says answer this quiz and stand a chance to win, something like that.
Okay. It's interesting that these are the activities that are licensed today in Botswana. And other gambling activities that we see in other countries. But then in your awareness, apart from the licensed ones, what else exists out there in society that is, by definition, actually gambling, although that might not be licensed yet?
So that is a very good question, and it is very, very close to my heart as a responsible gambling manager. We do have non-regulated gambling activities in Botswana, which we would classify as illegal. I get it, if the government says regulate and you are not under the regulatory body, then you're operating illegally. And the reason that it's close to my heart is we have experienced situations or cases where family members come in and say, our child takes all of his salary and he goes to this establishment and gambles with it, and he's not coping. We get situations where parents are even coming and saying these people are targeting our children. Now, with a regulatory body, we have rules of compliance which ensure that Botswana are protected. So a person who is taking their salary and gambling under Gambling Authority, that wouldn't happen because we're able to detect it and help this person. With young people, we don't allow our regulated establishments to allow underaged people to go in for gambling. So that is the problem that we are experiencing with the illegal sites. I read an article, actually a newspaper article the other day, where the police were actually also concerned because at these establishments you would find the use of alcohol and drugs. You would find people fighting. Then let's that begs the question,
what is the value of gambling in the first place, the socio-economic value of gambling, such that a whole economy could establish a regulation to the extent of having an entity that overlooks the activities of gambling. You spell it out for us. What are the values?
Okay, so
gambling?
With the values, we need to be able to draw the difference. There's gambling, I get as an umbrella, and then under gambling, we have problem gambling behavior, and we have responsible gambling behavior.
Responsible gambling.
Yes.
What is the value?
So there are two different types, I get. There are no values of problem gambling because problem gambling is going to lead to addiction. Problem gambling is going to lead to fights in the family. It's a problem. Problem gambling is a problem. Yes. So as Gambling Authority or as the government, we don't condone problem gambling, but we promote responsible gambling. And if you just look at even other countries, you've got jurisdictions like Las Vegas,
right,
where the industry, the whole industry of the place is based on the gambling industry.
Yes.
You've got Malta. I mean, in Botswana, we've got diamonds, we've got beef, and as a government, we're moving towards economic diversification. So the gambling industry benefits, it contributes to what we're getting as diamonds, from diamonds and from beef. If you look at countries like South Africa, the whole World Cup was centered more the gambling industry, stadium. So that's what's happening in other countries.
Right.
Even here in Botswana, what we saw in this research was what we've managed to do so far since inception 2016 to date. There has been jobs that have been
employment creation.
Exactly, employment creation, and that is just direct jobs. There's also value chain where you've got a cleaning company servicing this establishment, a security company servicing this establishment. We have a problem with our graduates, but they don't know what to do with what they have learned go schooling. Value chain for the person who's creating the software to be used in these machines. So those are some of the benefits that we have picked up in this research, and we have also picked up as the Gambling Authority.
Okay. Let's come to what is being done just recently now, which is that this research, this investigative exercise into the status of gambling. What were we looking out for, and what did we find?
All right. So with the 5% prevalence, what we wanted to know is what is the scope of gambling in Botswana. I've noticed that a lot of times when we do things as a country, we just jump in. We want to look at what happened in South Africa, what happened in Zambia, and then we just bring programs. So
we want evidence-based development.
Practice.
Yes. Right.
So from the get-go, as Gambling Authority, we said, let's do the nationwide research to find out what's happening in our people, because our people are different. People are different everywhere. Absolutely. And what's relevant in another country might not be relevant here. Absolutely. So the 5% was one of the things that we picked up. If you look at other jurisdictions, like let's say the UK, their prevalence is at 1%, which is relatively low,
Wow.
But if you compare to other jurisdictions, I read a research that showed that in Limpopo, the prevalence was 14% among black people. Not even the whole country of South Africa or
just
the whole of Limpopo, just that demographic was 14%. So we looked at our 5%. Okay, fine. We are closer to the UK, whom we would say they're doing well in terms of responsible gambling. And then we went in deeper as well to find out at 5%. What is keeping it at this 5%? Why are we at 5% and not 1% or 0%? And what can we do to reduce it? Because like I said, we want Botswana to be able to enjoy this industry. Interestingly, what we found was stigma. Stigma was one of the things
leading to this number, this 5% figure. Wow.
Yes.
Interesting.
So stigma. A person would say, I started gambling, and then when it got out of hand, I was afraid to go and seek help because I thought my family would judge me. I thought the counselor that I'm going to see would judge me, so I stayed, and then the problem progressed.
But then tell me, maybe what are the signs? What happens for us to identify it now as problem gambling?
All right.
Yeah.
So the first thing to know when identifying the sign is be of the mindset that gambling is for entertainment purposes,
Right.
not to make a quick buck. The sole reason that gambling is for entertainment purposes is because there's a chance you're going to win and there's a chance that you're going to lose. You want to make a quick buck out of something that you're sure you're going to win at.
Right.
So the moment a person sees it as a source of entertainment, then we say there's an indication of a problem.
As a source of entertainment?
I mean, sorry, as a source of
income.
funds. Yes,
Okay,
a source of income. Yes, it's a source of entertainment. So just that mindset is an indication that already there is a problem here. This person is at risk of taking my dear school fees. It doesn't work like that. Another indication would be time. If I go out, yes, how much time are you spending at these areas, and is it affecting your day-to-day activities? If I feel the need to leave work to go and to a gambling establishment, then already it's a problem. If I feel the need to neglect my family and go to a gambling establishment when there's a family occasion or I need to be spending time with my children, then already it's an indication of a problem.
Okay. Could it be a mental condition such that we could call it addiction or some other mental condition?
So what happens
when it becomes problem gambling?
Yes. What happens is when we diagnose, we look at a range or the severity. It could start off as problem gambling, where it's just a behavior thing and we just need to change the mindset of the person. The person just learns, okay, let me not take my salary, let me just take my entertainment budget money, and once I had
or learn a lesson.
Let me learn a lesson, and then they go back. So that's when it's not severe. And then you do get to a point where, if not treated or not addressed, can go to a point where we say, yes, it's an addiction, where the person doesn't want to stop. They can see the consequences of it, but they want to go on. They don't even find happiness in other activities, or they don't find happiness if they don't have that thrill of winning.
Okay, but then how severe are the cases that we have found locally? I'm talking about in terms of the damage done, or damage to person or interpersonal relations, or even family, or at any other level. What were the maybe worst cases that we have found, without naming any names or
no. With worst case scenario, it's an international thing. You'll find situations of I'm at the dawn of getting a divorce. My wife or my husband is leaving because of financial problems. It's at the case of this relative of ours is leaving their child behind Gadi weekend. But with that, the worst case we have found in people who didn't know about our services, or people who waited until it's late. So the more we do our campaign, we find out that the people who are employed in these establishments are able to recognize before it gets out of hand. So at the moment, we're not getting those terrible or extreme cases because of the education that we're doing. Botswana now know if I'm doing this, I'm getting out of hand, and they also know that I can actually go and seek help to be able to reverse it.
Do the findings also identify, say, perhaps which specific demographic, like whether the elderly or the youth or men and women? Does it come to that sophisticated result?
The findings found out that it's more of a problem among men. But it's not that there's anything wrong with men.
Yes.
But just deducing, it's because the majority of our gamblers, or the landscape of our gamblers in Botswana, are male. Maybe because of the license type that we have at the moment. Statistics from South Africa actually show that it's among youth, and it's just customer across male and female, and its youth. But in Botswana, we're seeing among males, and then also the older population, so from maybe your 35 to your 40. But that is just our gambling population. But personally, I don't like to look at demographics when I'm doing research. I think it's just equally important. So even if one university student has a problem, for me it's a need for us to do intervention in that university. We can't just neglect because 1% the university students and then 50% are women. Yes.
So we find this fact about us and our relationship with gambling. Towards solution, though, what are we looking to do as intervention to problem solving, rather problem gambling, now that we have identified the status?
All right. So as I said earlier on, as Gambling Authority, we do have these 3 legs: licensing, compliance, and responsible gambling.
Yeah.
And then as Gambling Authority, we have taken a preventative point of view or stance, where we go into the community to educate Botswana. We educate them through our campaign called Motshameko Pepper. Last year, we reached 100 villages, and our aim is to do 500 villages in 5 years. So with this one, we are going with the mindset presidential agenda. If we have the right mindset as Botswana, we are able to make informed decisions.
It's just entertainment.
Entertainment. Let's go there for entertainment. Yes. So our education campaign is solely based on that mindset change. We're equipping Botswana with skills and knowledge to be able to gamble responsibly. And then we also have a media campaign. If you look for us on Facebook, we're here right now.
Right. So then this is awareness, and we hope that somebody gets caught before it is problematic by this campaign. So what about those that are already in the problem state?
All right.
What are the tools? I know about a self-help instrument that you have.
Yes. So with the tools that we have to help people who have already been affected and their family members, we have what we call exclusions. So with exclusions, we've got 2 types. We have a self-exclusion and a third-party exclusion. A self-exclusion is where I, the player, say, you know what, I think I'm getting out of hand. Let me take a break from gambling. So they apply for an exclusion at Gambling Authority, and we ban them from entering in all casinos or all gambling establishments in Botswana.
You can request for yourself to be excluded.
Yes.
Okay, right.
So we do have Botswana who do that, Botswana who are informed and say, hey, okay, now I've learned, this is the reason that I'm having problems with my finances. And then they apply for the exclusion. And then we offer them counseling for that period when they're in the exclusion to be able to address how they got there in the first place. And then the third party exclusion, it's the same thing, but this time it's somebody who's dependent on you. So your wife, your child, your cousin, and so forth and so on. So those are exclusions. And then we also have counseling. So you can request for counseling if you're in the exclusion list, or even before exclusion, or when you're a family member, to be able to address those problems. And lastly, you mentioned the self-help portal. So the self-help portal was basically Gambling Authority saying that we want to be able to take our services to Botswana where they are. You know, as people, it's very difficult for me to come to you as a counselor and say, hey, I have a problem. To wake up in the morning, I'm wondering what those people who are wearing their suits. So we wanted to break those barriers and make sure that Botswana are comfortable with asking for services. So our self-help portal is basically our office in your cell phone or on your tablet, on your laptop.
And such is the convenience of digitalization. Thank you so much, Diteko, for coming through this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Look out for the Responsible Gambling Self-Help Portal. Be on the lookout for that. What is the finding is that at a rate of 5%, yes, there does exist some problem gambling in Botswana at a rate of 5%. For that being the case, even if it was only just 1%, then there is a need for intervention, and the Gambling Authority of Botswana has these instruments in place to help us as a society, even if in your private space, to be able to get help. A multifaceted research was done to look into the status of gambling, and the research findings have given us that, but the intervention is such that, as Diteko has mentioned.
jaaka re gorosa ile legato la bobedi